I'll just get the itinerary. I'll be right back.
No, but,
This tour started in August. The first leg went until about the middle of December, covering Midwest, Northeast, through that part of the country. This one started just last week in Albuquerque. Here we are in February, I think. And we covered this area, Southern California, into Texas, and a week off, and then we do Florida, the Southwest, and then Europe in May, and then we finish in June.
are you going to be going to Northeast New York or anything like that?
We've already done that. We finished up in the New York area in December.
That sounds like a long time on the road.
You're right.
Do you, I assume that you like to do that, 6 months on the road, is that it for a year? Or?
Yeah, we sort of have to do that. I think for the length of time we've been doing it, everybody's a bit tired of it. We'd like to take a little more time off, get into some other projects, other interests that we all have. We all have families. I'd like to see, I think I've got 2 kids. I wouldn't mind seeing them a little more. But unfortunately, we're the type of band that does have to tour a lot, and we've always done it. I don't know what we'd do if we didn't.
Why do you say that you have to tour a lot? I mean, you sell millions of albums. I mean, you think you wouldn't sell them without tour support?
Now we do, but 40 or 50 years ago when we started, it wasn't quite like that. We had to tour a lot to really get known, and that's the way it's always been for us, so it feels comfortable. I mean, we all really enjoy touring. You can find complaints in anything, I guess. We really do enjoy it. It's nice to have time off at home, but it is nice to get out on the road and play. It always has been.
Do you, in your personal life, stuff like that, do you really, feel like a lot of the pressures from not being at home and stuff like that? I mean, is that really, sometimes you regret that you didn't have a more normal, like, family life, or you sort of, like, trading off, in other words, saving it for later, whenever maybe you get out of this or something like that?
You could think like that. I don't really. This is just the way it is, and as far as my family's concerned, that's the way it's been for them all along as well. I've been doing it for quite a while, and we're all well adjusted to that. I think in that respect, my only complaint would be that I didn't see my children grow up as much as I would like to. But the time you spend with them, you tend to concentrate more on it, and you get as much as maybe you would in a month's time, in a week's time, you know. So I don't think I would do it any differently. It's a chance that comes around very seldom in this type of business, and we've been pretty lucky.
Would you say that, you really kind of tribute it all to luck, right? You did all the touring, put out solid albums, that kind of thing. But would you say, was there some point where there was like a big break or something like that you see as a turning point in the career of the band?
From the band's point of view, I don't think so, because we always worked on a certain scale, and everything changed around us. I think with Permanent Waves, that album was one of the really major turning points. 2112 was definitely a turning point for us, but Permanent Waves really shocked us. We didn't expect that kind of success from one of our records. It was really shocking. All of a sudden we were playing larger halls, and there was all this whole thing generated around us, which really caught us off guard. That, I think, sticks in my mind as probably the most overwhelming change.
How is it for, I know you took a different route than a lot of the other Canadian bands, famous in the United States first, sort of, or simultaneously going back to Canada. Is that, was it harder being Canadian, to make the United States, you think, or do you think there's some prejudice if you ever felt anything like that against Canadian rock?
No, not really. It was almost a novelty. Oh, so you're from Canada. Say A. How do you say out? things like that at first. At the time, it was a strange situation in Canada. You had to really leave the country to get any kind of recognition, and that's just the way it turned out for us. We had a fair amount of local success, if you want to say, in and around Toronto. And then we landed the record deal with Mercury Records in the States in 1974. So with that came a tour and an American agency and the whole thing. And we toured the States for a couple of months and came home, and it was like a big deal at home just to leave the country and do something in America and then come back. So it really followed what happened down here.
And now they have different rules in Canada. In other words, applying radio stations play.
That was always the case, but they find ways of getting around that, or you hear a lot of, or in the past, you hear a lot of, or heard a lot of Anne Murray, for the Canadian content and the big Canadian stars. Now the whole scene is quite different. It's a lot healthier. It's all more alive. There are more bands coming out of Vancouver, out of Toronto, out of Montreal, that are really making a mark, that are finding it a lot easier to record, which was always a problem, finding record companies that would put the time, money, and effort into new bands, doing things. And with all the new labels that have come out in the last few years, it's really helped the situation in Canada a lot.
Do you think that might be part because of your success?
Oh, shucks. Gee, I don't know. Possibly.
As far as working in the studio, I know that you keep pretty abreast, I guess, of a lot of high-tech kind of stuff. I'm just wondering how you do that, and how you're able to incorporate all these sort of new high-tech kind of sound effects, etc., into music. How do you stay on top of all that stuff?
In the studio, or just generally in the...
Also, could you then try to...
Yeah. Well, it's amazing what you can do with one finger on a keyboard these days. With all the synthesizers they have out now and all the different equipment, it's made that kind of thing very easy to do. You don't have to have a great deal of dexterity to play keyboards now. In that case, it's just a matter of keeping your eyes open to what's happening and trying out different equipment and things like that. In the studio that we record in now, Le Studio, just north of Montreal, is probably one of the best equipped studios in this part of the solar system. They're really, really well equipped and up to date. So there, you just walk in and sit down and say, I'd like it to sound like, and they'll do it. As far as equipment with us, it's a matter of trial and error.
How do you get that kind of studio sound in the live show, or do you even, are you still trying to match the sound on the records pretty much in the live show, or is it even possible with this?
Yeah, we've always been really careful not to do anything in the studio that we couldn't do live. We tour so much that it would really be unfair to us and the audience if, we had 1,000 guitars and strings and all kinds of other instruments that you don't hear live. And I think that has something to do maybe with our popularity, that it is an honest representation of what we're like in the studio when we play live. So you're not missing anything when you hear the band live, although you're picking up on the energy that you don't have with a record.
I think that adding another person to the band or anything like that to get a different kind of sound or chord sound.
We did it at one point. We thought about adding a keyboard player. It was right around the time of Farewell to Kings album. And we decided, rather than disrupt the chemistry that was already there in the band, we'd take it upon ourselves to learn other instruments and to add other dimensions to the sound. And so Geddy started playing synthesizer and bass pedals, and I picked up some bass pedals, and Neil got an array of percussion instruments, and we tried to take off from there.
How exactly talk about the chemistry in the band. What kind of like partnerships or whatever worked out within the group, you know, as far as writing and stuff like that? I mean, I know that Neil writes most of the lyrics, but I mean, how exactly did that work? Or is it just different for every single song?
In general, Neil writes 99% of the lyrics. On the last song, the last album rather, Geddy and I had an idea for lyrics for a song that we'd been working on a few months before we actually started writing material for the album. And we put down our lyrics on a few pieces of paper, all scratched out, and Neil took it and put it into some coherent form and added his flair to it as well. What works best for us is that Neil writes lyrics and Geddy and I sit down and concentrate on the music, and one doesn't necessarily come before the other. If Neil has something written, it gives us something to work from as far as setting a mood, and we write to that. Sometimes we have music written and he brings us lyrics and they fit.
I guess on the last album, you worked a lot of songs out at sound check. Are you still doing that, or recording them?
Yeah, it's actually just that. You come in the afternoon and warm up for half an hour before running down a couple of songs for the actual sound check. And some of that stuff is really great. Some of it's really inspired and some of it's real garbage. So Geddy sifted through a whole box of tapes that we had from sound checks on the last tour and brought two sets to the rehearsals. One which was a more refined set of things that he thought were really good, and another tape of other outtakes that weren't too bad that we might consider. Plus, he'd written a bunch of stuff at home, and I'd written some things at home, and we had all this material for a change. It was great. It was like we did our homework for the first time, and it made writing a lot easier. We had a lot more to choose from.
You mean writing in the studio? In other words, you got to the studio, you already had the song.
Yeah, what we did was we went up north in March, and we took a month to write. We found a really nice place with a small group of chalets, and they had a large conference room that was great as a rehearsal studio. And there was no one up there. It was that time of the year. It was empty, very cold, but very beautiful. And we worked there through March, went out and worked in April to get warmed up, and then we went directly into the studio, which is what we've been doing for the last few albums.
On the song Countdown, I know there's a specific story behind that as far as going to Cape Canaveral, Cape Kennedy, but I guess...
the Cape Kennedy, Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral.
See the Columbia, I guess, space shot. I assume that's what it's in the video, it's the Columbia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that had the song, that experience inspired that song.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. We went out, actually with a friend of ours, Janet, took us out the first time out to the Kennedy Space Center, and we did a VIP tour of the place, something that was set up by the record company. And at the end of the tour, we sat down and spoke with a few people there and heard all these stories and had a couple of drinks. And it was incredible, a fantastic day. And we kept in touch with Jerry Griffin, who took us on the tour at the time. He invited us to see the launch of the Columbia. We went back. Of course, it was canceled the first day. We raced back to the airport, managed to get back to Dallas or someplace, I forget. Yeah, Dallas it was. We had to work that night, and the following Sunday we went back out and watched the launch. And it's an incredible experience. The earth is literally shaking. Your pants are flapping from the force. I've never heard anything so loud. Van Halen isn't even as loud as this. And it really, left a mark. We decided then that we'd write a song about it. And that's exactly what we did. After we'd finished writing the song, we got in touch with Jerry Griffin, and he was kind enough to pass on some film footage of the Columbia launch that we incorporated into the show, and also into a video that we'd recently done.
And so now you're using those videos at the beginning of the show, I guess?
Well, towards the end, where Countdown is placed in the set.
And then is that like on rear screen projection?
Yeah. Yeah, it's rear screen. Rear screen. Right.
Are you thinking of, I know with the album 2112, have you ever thought of doing like a concept type movie along the lines of Tommy or The Wall or something like that to any of your albums?
Well, nobody asked us, but I suppose if someone did, we might consider it. But we hadn't really thought of it. We've been too busy.
Do you ever think of, expanding as far as your working video, or is it more just in terms of video?
Oh, no, everybody, we all do have plans to do other things, from this point. Getty's producing some other people. There have been a few offers to do soundtracks, which we're waiting to hear from. So there are other things to do. It's just that we've been so busy touring and recording that we can't really get involved in a major project right now.
And you don't think want to add that to the show or whatever, instead of actually one or two songs?
What's it?
Oh, San Diego.
Yeah, you stayed here and...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great too.
Yeah. Here.
You ready? Rolling? Okay. I'm just wondering about your music in general. It seems that the sound is really pretty complicated, as far as the music. I'm just wondering what do you think about it, appealing to like the normal rock fan? It's pretty sophisticated music, I think, and it's just that it's kind of, whatever, it's not your basic na-na-na-na-na-na.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ever struck you or whatever to very accepted, more intellectual, I guess, than I can say?
Yeah. Well, it hasn't really, because we write for ourselves. We write whatever moves us. And I think a lot of people take their audience for granted. I think our audience is well aware of what we're doing and into it as much as we are. And that's just the way it's always worked for us. I think that's probably why we had more of a cult following in the early years, because we had that sort of a relationship with our audience, and we were much closer than some bands, I think.
I noticed like in that song, Subdivision, sort of about suburban kind of concern, suburban lifestyle. Is that what everyone in the band has, that kind of background, or?
Yeah, we're all in our late 20s. Some a little older than that. But we all grew up through that same lifestyle. And most of our audience is from that kind of a background. And I think that they can really relate to. I know I can really relate to that song. I remember when I first read the lyrics, I thought, hey, this is about me. And I think anybody who reads the lyrics can get that same feeling from it.
If you're not, what is it, if you're not cool,
And be cast out.
you'll be cast out.
Yeah.
What kind of music, when you're on the road, do you listen to other bands? Do you have any favorites outside of?
Yeah, I listen to, I like Simple Minds a lot. I like Roxy Music, Ultravox, XTC, that kind.
More like synthesizer?
Yeah, I like some of the romantic type bands. Duran Duran I like. Quite a few bands. No particular favorites, though.
Do you ever think of, I read an interview where you said maybe if you ever had time, you might want to do some kind of solo project? Would that be along those kind of lines, or more?
Yeah, I don't know. Until you really sit down and start working on something like that, you can't really speculate. There's definitely that project for the future, and I know I'd like to do it. I have a studio at home that I've been building for the last 4 or 5 centuries, and it's completed, and I'm doing a bit of work on my own there, which I don't think I would bring to the band as far as music for an album. So, who knows? Maybe I'll be dancing my way across.
Well, it's 4 o'clock. Does that mean you have to go?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Probably safe. Okay, we're ready.
Don't stop.
You get that, Jerry? What happened?
I lost it.
You lost them where?
I should have let him walk out of frame instead of cut home. Can I do it one more time? Sure. This time, don't stop at the bottom. Just keep coming around the side of the fountain.
You want to walk across the fountain again? That was good walking across the fountain. I feel like doing it again. Say anything?
Okay, rolling. Come on now.
All right, we're ready, Alex. Okay, Jerry?
Yep.
Okay, we're ready. Action. So you're going for his head.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, come on. Oh, let's try again. One more time.
It's called War and Peace.
War and Peace, I know him. Okay, ready, roll.